A very good evening to all. On behalf of the Department of English and Modern European Languages, I, Amrita, would like to welcome you all to today's Zoom launch session of the second issue of Rhetorica Quarterly, an online journal initiated by the Rhetorica Literary Society at our department at the University of Lucknow. With the blessings of our Vice Chancellor, Professor Alok Kumar Rai sir, and under the guidance of the head of our department, Professor Ranu Unyal, Rhetorica, as a literary society, had launched the first issue of its online journal in June this year. The thought of an online literary platform to virtually collate the literary as well as the creative works by the students of the department was conceived in the month of May and June, and it was actually in these lockdown months that this thought materialized into the form of Rhetorica Quarterly. The months of lockdown have all presented to us the altered circumstances that have led to many new literary endeavors on the virtual platform, and our online literary journal is one such endeavor made by the students and the faculty of the Department of English and Modern European Language. While the first issue of Rhetorica Quarterly was celebrating the thematic diversity of its inaugural flavor, the second issue is one that has been particularly devoted to the theme of pandemic that marks most of 2020 so far. With Professor Ranu Unyal being the advisory editor throughout, the editorial board of Rhetorica Literary Society that was working for the compilation of Rhetorica Quarterly has again collectively worked together to bring to you the second issue of Rhetorica Quarterly. The non-fiction section has been edited by Suswagata Chaudhary along with Rajiv Sahu and Kirti Srivastav as the co-editors. The fiction section has been edited by Ansh Sharma along with Shivam Kundu and Akansha Pandey as the co-editors. The photography section has been edited by Ashutosh Agarwal along with Ravish Fatima as the co-editor, and I was reading the poetry section with my co-editor Fonso K. For all of us, it has been a very interesting experience to be reading all the works that came to us and bringing to you the selection of a few works that were particularly standing out in terms of their manifestation of this theme of pandemic into the literary realm. We were very delighted to get so many works, and we bring to you the best of what we got, and how these works have actually transformed creativity into these different genres and have talked of the different aspects of life under a pandemic as it was unfolding before us in the past few months. Though the pandemic still continues, we are now slowly and steadily accommodating to the new normal, and the launch of Rhetorica Quarterly second issue today is perhaps a celebration of this very spirit of getting back to the new normal. Back in June, we also had the launch of our first issue on the Zoom platform, and again today we are having a Zoom launch for the second issue. But perhaps in the months that have passed, we have become more and more habitual for this virtual interaction, and now with the unlock in progress, we are slowly moving towards an accommodation of ways between the virtual and the physical realms. So, without further delay, we are actually here to celebrate the launch of this second issue, and with the guidance and support of all the faculty members, with the active participation of all the students of the department, and with the love and support of all the people who have joined us today for this Zoom launch, we now begin the Zoom session for today. And I would like to invite the head of our department, Professor Ranu Unyal, for the welcome address and also to introduce the guest of honor for today.
Good afternoon. On behalf of the Department of English and Modern European Languages, I would like to welcome all of you to the launch of our second issue of Rhetorica Quarterly, an online journal of the students. As an advisory editor, my job was to encourage them, and the rest was taken care of by the students. I would also like to thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Alok Kumar Rai, for his unstinted support. As a student of the department, I found myself surrounded with great luminaries, and the presence of Professor C. Vimla Rao was indeed a blessing to all of us. This particular issue, that is Rhetorica Quarterly Volume 1, Number 2, is dedicated to our dear Professor C. Vimla Rao, who taught in this department for more than 2 decades. She was a translator, an author, a splendid scholar who got the Fulbright thrice. She did her PhD from the University of Wisconsin. And I remember that I spent many evenings with her. And the last time that I spoke to her was in the month of September in 2017. And she said to me, if I were to be born again, Ranu, I would love to be born in Lucknow. Despite the fact that she settled in Bangalore after retirement, she had a strange fascination for Lucknow and she continued to visit the city whenever she could. I am delighted that this special issue on pandemic is dedicated to Professor C. Vimla Rao, a sensitive, warm soul, a brilliant scholar, a dear, dear friend. And here in this issue, we have included her last published piece, which was on Raja Rao. And this was sent to us by her sister, Malti Rao. As our guest of honor, Dr. Ruth Chakravarti is our beloved teacher, friend, mentor, and a poet, an alumna of the Department of English and Modern European Languages, who taught at Isabella Thoburn College for 37 years. And I must convey this to all of you, that ours was the first batch that she taught in the early 1980s. I still remember Miss Ruth Cutting joined as a young, energetic lecturer at Isabella Thoburn College, and we would wait for her class with great enthusiasm. Her love for literature has inspired generations. As an icon of grace and humility, Dr. Ruth Chakravarti is not only dear to us, but she's also dear to all the citizens of Lucknow who have had the privilege of meeting her. She's a woman of principles, an activist who has worked for the people, for those who are empowered, disempowered, and she's worked for the upliftment of the poor and marginalized. I would request Dr. Chakravarti to please join us and please deliver her keynote address. And I would also request her to read her poems and bless our students. As an alumna of the Department of English, she did her PhD under Professor D.D. Sharma, and we are very happy that she accepted our invitation today. Dr. Ruth Chakravarti.
Good evening, Professor Alok Rai, Vice Chancellor, University of Lucknow. Dr. Ranu Unyal, Head, Department of English and Modern European Languages, University of Lucknow. My respected faculty members and my very dear students. It is a rare honor and privilege to be in your midst this evening. Thank you, Dr. Unyal, for inviting me for the launch of Rhetorica Quarterly, a literary journal of arts, Volume 1, Segment 2. Let me congratulate you, your department, and your students for this wonderful creative endeavor. You have achieved a fine aesthetic balance in this topical issue on the pandemic. It's a real joy to be with you this evening, to connect with you again. I feel so grateful to my faculty in the Department of English, a faculty of greats who molded and defined my career by instilling in me a deep and abiding love for literature. Dr. D.D. Sharma guided my research on evil and war, and with great erudition saw me through my thesis. And yes, I'm thrilled that you have dedicated this issue to Dr. C. Vimla Rao, superb teacher and poet par excellence. When I was studying here, I would share my poems with her. She was quite an inspiration for my entire batch. On reading my poems, she always asked, Ruth, why? Why is there so much pain in your poetry? And I would be silent because one can only write about pain, not talk about it. I remember also with great affection Mrs. Mohini Manglik, who was my mentor and guide, and later a very dear and cherished friend. And of course, Mr. Raj Bisaria, whose lectures on Shelley were unmissable. I'm so happy to know that this wonderful legacy flows down the years in continuum. The department shines on in the very capable hands of Dr. Unial and her excellent team, comprising Dr. V.P. Singh, Dr. Minakshi Pava, Dr. Fatima Rizvi, Vineet David, and your entire esteemed faculty. Now, I went through the Rhetorica last night and am deeply impressed by the quality of writing by the students. Yes, we are living in very difficult times. The pandemic has deprived us of so much in terms of life itself. Our global losses cannot even be measured. The pandemic has stolen our peace, our light, our lives. The pandemic has thrown into sharp relief the sheer fragility of human life and survival. The global scenario is bleak. We stand in a wasteland of hopelessness. There is despair, pain, death, poverty, and hunger. True. But what thrills my heart is that out of this nihilistic despair, you, I repeat, you have ignited your inner effulgence and set about chronicling the most difficult of times. I just love that strong voice that triumphantly claims, But I will live, I shall heal, so will the world. You're right, my friends. Times are bleak in Corona time, so let's quarantine. While we struggle to survive this pandemic, pain, and plight, because hope is all we have. We do not exist in isolation. Nature also teaches us. So the sun rises to let in the night and sets to let in the night. Kudos, my young friends, to each one of you. Rhetorica contains some of the best pieces of writing to emerge from the pandemic. It is obvious that this pandemic has impacted us in many ways. When you are young, it is easy to be overwhelmed by pain, as many of you are today. There is an intense perception of life around you, so you have written with a heightened awareness. Out of your deep apprehension of pain has arisen your poetry. But, my friends, poetry is not only about pain and suffering, it is also about celebration, a celebration called life. And you have celebrated life. It is not only pain that inspires us to write, actually, it is love. Love has been and is the most inspirational emotion of all times. Pardon the generalization. However, love and the unfulfillment of love has inspired people to write the most intense poetry ever written. As Pablo Neruda has said, loving is so short, the memory of love so long. The loss of it. Rhetorica too encapsulates love in its many, many dimensions. As you well know, the whole repertoire of Pio Gras is born out of love and its absence. Love itself moves in ever widening circles of experience. There is, as you have written, romantic love, fraternal love, and divine love, hence Bhakti Ras. Rhetorica has elements of all these three. Ah, I must stop now. We are eagerly awaiting your presentations, or should I say, offerings? In closing, let me just say one thing to you. Write. Write with all your soul, your heart, your mind. Always write. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mom. It was absolutely wonderful to hear you today, and I'm sure your words have really inspired all of us today to write, and as you said, just to write with all our minds, souls, and hearts. Thank you so much, Ma'am, once again from all of us at the department. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Moving on, we today have with us a few contributors to the poetry section who would now be reading out their work. And without further delay, I would now like to begin our poetry reading section and by inviting the first reader, Rashi Srivastav. Uh, I now invite Rashi to read out her work, Bleak Times, that has featured in the second issue of Rhetorica Quarterly.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Amrita. Um, First of all, I would like to thank the Department of English and Modern European Languages for giving us an opportunity to publish our poems as well as to read in front of dignitaries like Ruth ma'am. Ma'am, it was a pleasure to listen to you. I wrote this poem, in fact, during the pandemic time. The poem, in fact, talks about the physical changes that occurred during the last previous months that we all have seen. Not only the physical changes, but mentally also the anxious state we have been. So, without further ado, I would like to begin my poem, which is titled as Bleak Times. As the new decade creeps in, life comes on a standstill. For a sudden wave of sorrow shrouds the sheets of earth. All are locked up in houses. Pangs of agony slowly steep in, digging its way in the deep corners of the unruly psyche. The rising death rate splashes. The economy is pouring downwards. Farmers are hunger stricken to the core. Is this the era of hopelessness? For the circle of time keeps moving at a sluggish rate, elevating the pain to the core, not getting rid of it any soon. But people still look up, often to a television or to the sky, with a glimmer, a sigh, a hope for a better future yet to unfold. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rashi, for that poem. Thank you so much. Next, I would like to invite Abhijit Singh to read out his work, Art in Isolation. Abhijit is a student of ME Semester 4 at our department and also a very active member of the Rhetorica Literary Society. So, inviting Abhijit to read out his poem.
Thank you, ma'am. Good afternoon, or should I say good evening to one and all. And I'm quite grateful and thankful to the department and to the teachers and to my seniors who have very well organized this event. And I'm grateful to recite my poem in front of people who I may dare not mention with my tongue, of course. So, yeah, now I can turn on my video. I was not able to turn it on. So the title of my poem is Art in Isolation, and here it is. Isolation came proclaiming, the sunset came, inviting the autumn, came and introduced the theory of uncertainty. Yet again, should I call it a pandemic or Heisenberg's rebirth then? While on chair the comfort idea sat, dust came and off went to the books for shelter. For time and space the clocks gave up. For now is the state of utter crisis. The anti-Christian thesis of situations I read. Bibles stopped working, Bibles of refuge, of huge mythical hopes, of doctored scope in humanity dying. Breathing the last delusion, sigh is the need of this hour. Metaphors ceased to be the currency of art. Writers tried, poems cried, canvas died, and soon fell prey to the Jupiterian crowd of such minuscule happinesses. All lecturing from the stage soliloquy of doubts, deliriums, disdains, depressions, all happening, but art, that too, tried. happening. But what Mirror saw was not the naked poem, but an illusion. Undressing itself, they look similar, bare illusion or poem, but differences are worth in isolation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abhijit, for that recitation. I would next like to invite Vishwabhushan to read out his poem, Corona Times. Vishwabhushan is a research scholar at the Department of English, and I now invite him to read out his work.
Good evening to all of you. I'm going to recite my poem, Corona Time. We are saying go Corona for meat. Once again, our blunder occurs. How human beings become selfish to such extent? Are we getting ready to fight with pandemic? No, this is the matter of profit and loss for meat market. Oh, sorry, king may kill me or may declare unpatriotic as I dare to revert to the king. But I can't stop myself because I can't be cheapest. I will raise my voice for my self satisfaction. I can't say go Corona for the taste of tongues. Thank you.
Thank you, Vishwabhushan. Thank you for that recitation. I would next like to invite Ponso Kane to read out her poem, The Global Guest. Ponso is a student of MA second semester at the Department of English and also one of our international students who has come here for her master's program. So now inviting Ponso to read out her poem.
Thank you very much for this golden opportunity. The title of my poem, as has been indicated, is The Global Guest. COVID-19 lockdown has darkened my door, and under its regulations, I shall not want. It makes me lie down in the green pastures of endless tossing and turning on my bed. It immerses me into an enormous pool of freedom. It preserves my health. It guides me in the path of righteousness for humanity's sake. Yes, though I walk under the global umbrella of curfews and self-quarantines, I fear being counted among the cases, as well as executing a human right to free movement. For no powerful governance is with me, and no amount of money, no amenities comfort me. COVID-19 lockdown prepares a table of utmost relaxation before me in the eyes of my foes. It keeps me right within my four walls. My contentment runs over. Certainly, peace and tranquility shall follow me all my days only in this pandemic. I shall abide by the mandate of the World Health Organization forever. So be it. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Ponso. I would next like to invite Prachi to read out her work. Prachi is also a student of ME at the Department of English and also an active member of the Rhetorica Society. So now inviting Prachi to read her poem for the new novel.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. I'll just get right to it. This poem is for your new normal. After a long day of work, you would run back to the comfort of a couch waiting for you at home. You find your solace there, your peace. But during this past few months, that work has infiltrated into your home. It took away your safe retreat. But what can you do? Your 9 to 5 is 24/7 now, and 6 cups of coffee every day is messing with your head. Sleep comes at odd hours or not at all. Being in your PJs and top-knot bun all day is taking its toll on your self-esteem. You scare yourself when you realize how you've been sitting in a dark room all by yourself, just zoning out completely, being in a state of constant drowsiness. The amount of caffeine you consume cannot keep you conscious anymore, and your line of thought keeps straying. Early morning, and you're tired already. All of your energy constantly drained. What is wrong with you when nothing is wrong? You have food and shelter and employment, but life still lacks meaning, doesn't it? The loss of human touch funds your isolation. It takes you away from the physical world and sets off a phobia of its own, where empty roads, welcome anxiety, masked faces send you into a panic, drive your insecurities to the edge. Everything triggers what you suppress. And when you take a pill and lie down, the thought strikes you again. That strawberry life is never coming back. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prachi. So these were the five contributors who have their works featured in the second issue of Rhetorica Quarterly. Thank you to all five of you for taking out time and reading your works with us today. We now move on to the next section. This semester also marks the graduating semester for the students of the last semesters of BA Honours as well as the Master's program. And many of these students have also been a very active part of Rhetorica. So now, in the next section, we would now like to invite our Rhetorica co-editors who have been actively working in the past few months to share their experiences as to how they found working on the virtual platform to read and to edit these works. So, firstly, I would like to invite Akansha Pandey, a student of BA Honours, who was editing the fiction section along with Ansh Sharma and Shivam Kundu. So, I now invite Akansha Pandey to share her experiences as a co editor. So, over to you, Akansha.
Hello everyone, my name is Akansha. I'm a student of BA Honours from the Department of English. When I started my journey in University of Lucknow, the first lecture I attended was of Professor Meenakshi Pahwa, and she told us a quote which said that the knowledge we have is a little island in the great ocean of non knowledge. So I've been learning all these years, and I want to learn more by staying a part of Rhetorica and the university. Talking about my experience of being at Rhetorica and a student of the department, it is very, very special for me, and I have grown as a person, not only intellectually but also ideologically, and that's what literature also does, evolves you as a person overall. Firstly, I want to share my experience when I was asked to join the Rhetorica team. Amrita ma'am called me and she asked me if I would like to join. I was highly nervous and was unsure if I will be capable to do all the things that were required, but she had the faith in me and she told me that I should join. I started working as a co editor for the creative fiction section under the head Ansh ma'am, and I had a senior working with me, Shivam Kundu. Both of them motivated me and guided me to do all the work I could. And in the beginning, when I did not know what to do, if they were not there, then I would not have managed to do anything. So I thank them all. The whole Rhetorica team has been very supportive. I was the youngest member, and still, all of them never discouraged me, always supported me. And in fact, Rhetorica, this is what Rhetorica is. Ranu ma'am created it so that all the students can um grow their creative talents and let themselves out and their capabilities. I thank you all. I thank you all teachers of the faculty for imparting the education that they had, which uplifted us and made us worthy enough to be working for Rhetorica. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Akansha. You're definitely the youngest member of Rhetorica and, of course, a very important one. Thank you for sharing your experiences with us. We now invite Kirti Srivastav, an MA Semester 4 student, to share her experience. She had been a co editor of the non fiction section along with uh, both in the first issue as well as the second issue. So she has had been working with Chitra Vajpayee, Swagata Chaudhary, as well as Rajiv Sahu. So we now invite Kirti to share her experiences of not just working here with Rhetorica, but also how it has been for her to be a student of the department for the past 2 years. So we now invite Kirti Srivastava.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Good afternoon, one and all. Rather, good evening, one and all. I take this opportunity of introducing myself. I'm Kirti Srivastav from MA, Semester 4, Department of English and Modern European Languages. It was a pleasure to hear our guest of honor, Dr. Ru Chakravarti. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your kind words. It's been my privilege to be a part of this journal. I'm glad that before I postgraduate, I have had this opportunity to work with some amazing faculty members, seniors, and fellow mates. I thank each one of you for allowing me to contribute to this enriching journal. I strongly feel that working as the co editor for the nonfiction genre has helped me gain various fruitful insights and enhanced my knowledge. I've come across some amazing works by the students, and it helped me gain a new perspective on so many things. This issue was based on pandemic, hence it was important to have a universal view which would cater to the fact that everyone had their own journey and struggle during these days of pandemic and their own ways of dealing with it. This issue, in a way, is about the ongoing experiences which would be relatable to a large extent, hoping to be back to the normal routine without the fear. Hence, it allows us to dwell into the positives and negatives of living a life strictly confined. Rhetorica is full of amazing articles and work. Each work here consists of something insightful. It makes me feel so proud to be a part of something so fulfilling. Also, it's been an emotional journey here because this was my last work as the co editor here until I come back, which I will. Hence, in no words, I can thank our HOD ma'am, Professor Unyal, and Amrita ma'am, who believed in me and my capabilities, and my co editors for being so supportive. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you, Kirti. Um, Thank you so much for sharing your experiences. We now invite Ravish Fatima, who has been working as the co-editor of the photography section along with Ashutosh Agarwal. Ravish and Ashutosh had not just been the editors of the photography section, but they had also been putting in a lot of effort for designing the entire journal, Rhetorica, not just the first issue, but also the second one. So all the good designing that comes to us has been the effort of Ashutosh and Ravish, and we now invite Ravish to share her experiences of being a student at the department for the past 2 years. In fact, for the past 5 years for Ravish. Over to you, Ravish.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Very good evening to everyone. And first of all, I'm so glad to see that we all are gathered here to grace the launch ceremony of our literary journal, Rhetorica Quarterly. And actually, I have a very fondling memory of this department, and especially with Rhetorica. In terms of my experience, I might just run out of words. As per my understanding, everything in this world gave us an experience of life. It depends on how we take that experience forward and the way we execute it. For this journal, I worked as a co-editor of designing and photography. It was indeed an experimenting and learning, yet an amazing experience, as I have never been a part of such activities. I'm so thankful of our head, Ma'am Unyal, and my supervisor, Mr. Ashutosh Agarwal. Actually, I'm feeling awkward by calling him Mr. Ashutosh Agarwal, as I'm used to call him Ashutosh Bhaiya. He's our dear senior. So thank you so much, Bhaiya. And this time, the theme of our journal is pandemic. So Ashutosh sir and I have decided to give a look that suits the theme. So I hope you all like it. And yes, more importantly, we are awaiting feedback and we will work on it in our upcoming issue. A few words I would like to say for our department that I have felt in my 5 years of stay at this department that University of Lucknow not only encourages me to get academically strong, but also causes me to be a better person. Yes, our professors not only taught us the aesthetics of literature, but also the art of living. And I'm so thankful of Ma'am Power. And only because of them and partly because of my seniors, I have always been on my toes to undertake activities of various fields. And yes, I'm so beholden of them. And I'm also very thankful of Professor R.P. Singh sir that he considered me as a member of delegacy. Actually, delegacy is working for the welfare of the students of University of Lucknow. And sir is working hard for this good cause. Thank you, sir. And I'm so grateful of God that in spite of challenges of lockdown, we are launching this literary journal, Rhetorica Quarterly. Congratulations to everybody and all the best for our future endeavors. Thank you. And thank you so much, Ma'am Amrita and Ma'am Ansh and Ma'am Unyal. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ravish. So these were our Rhetorica co-editors who were talking about the experiences of working with Rhetorica as well as the experience that they had as students of the department. Moving on, we would now like to invite Dr. Meenakshi Bawa, one of our very esteemed faculty members who has always been a source of guidance and inspiration for all the students of the department, to share her address. Ma'am, we keenly look forward to your address regarding Rhetorical Quarterly second issue.
Thank you, Amrita, and a very warm welcome to all of you who have joined us this evening for the second launch of the second issue of Rhetorica. It gives me immense pleasure to be a part of this historic event, because particularly the fact that the issue of Rhetorica has been dedicated to the pandemic times. And I invite you all, to those who may not have browsed through the journal yet, to go through it, because that exemplifies the energy, the endeavor that has gone into the making of it. More on that later. Since this happens to be the historic centennial year of our university and naturally of our department, which was one of the earliest set up as many years ago, it would be befitting to talk of the illustrious line of our heads of the departments. We have had the good fortune of having a whole series of very illustrious, erudite, scholarly heads of the department that have served and led it to the directions that it has reached today. Our forebears, our torchbearers, that we hope to carry on through tradition in all sincerity. But due to paucity of time, it would be not possible to adumbrate each and every head of the department that has gone into the making of this illustrious department. I would very quickly go through the few that have contributed and have been the stalwarts, not that the others haven't. Professor Nirmal Kumar Siddhant is where the conversation begins when we talk of the history of our department, because he was the first Indian to head this very prestigious and illustrious department. And apart from his erudition, which was unparalleled and much had been celebrated in Cambridge, he was a Cantabrigian. But apart from that, the very first education mission that the country had, which was spearheaded by Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, he was a member and a signatory member at that. He went on to become the Vice Chancellor, to serve at the University of Calcutta as illustriously as he had served our department, as well as Delhi University, and even a member of the Union Public Service Commission, or probably he headed it, I am not very sure, so pardon me for that. There has been a long line, and Professor A.V. Rao, who I believe, to the best of my knowledge, was the only Vice Chancellor to have got a second term, and a very successful 2 terms that he served at the university. Professor Shrestha, Professor Ramesh Mohan, who went on to become the founder director of CIEFL, which was the Central Institute of Foreign and English Languages, English and Foreign Languages at Hyderabad, which now is rechristened as English and Foreign Languages University. The journal is dedicated to Professor Vimla Rao. She was known for her scholarship. The chair has already written a wonderful tribute in her memory, and it is only befitting that this second edition of this very, very special journal to all of us, not only the students who are the lifeline of this journal, but also to the faculty who have in whatever way been working in tandem with all our students. Professor Rao was an endearing personality, and talking to her, scholars who always have that extra edge of knowing the teacher better than all of us did. She had the unique distinction of having that, an unparalleled mix of tremendous scholarship that had a very, very delicate balance to being a very fine human being. And apart from that, she had a very childlike curiosity, which I know it from my own personal experience while I was fortunate to be her taught. And she once told me that, whenever I enter my classroom, I have butterflies. That kind of completely stumped me, because that is the kind of humility and that is the kind of learning that, despite so much behind her, she was very prolific body of work, and not only as a scholar of American literature, but also an equally prolific publishing history in her creative writing. And she had a curiosity that would probably match that of a child in a very childlike way. And as my esteemed colleague, Professor V.P. Singh shared, that she would make it a point to go to the Mahotsav, she would make it a point to go and enjoy movies, though she didn't really much, understand them at times. And my own experience is that when I attended her classes where she taught us Yeats, where she taught us Hardy, I think my passion for Yeats, despite him being so complex and so challenging when you are a student and even when you're teaching him, there was some connect that she sparked in me, that I continued to read Yeats as and when I could. And Hardy, the whole idea of amelioration, the whole idea of destiny, and then how the correlations work and play out in our lives, that was, I think I can lay that connection at the feet of Professor Vimla Rao. And while all of us were there studying, those memories rush back to me as the most treasured ones, because here was this line. As I said, we were so fortunate to have such a distinguished faculty who are not only very competent in terms of subject knowledge, but was so extremely accessible. And I think I can take a personal pride in the fact, and I'm sure my other esteemed colleagues would agree with me, that we, in all our humility, are emulating the greats that have walked the portals of this department. And we are trying to take a leaf out of those books who have led before us. And in our own humble way, we dedicate our efforts in that spirit alone. And I hope that this tradition, this rich tradition of upholding the core traditional values that our former professors showed us the path, we are very tenaciously walking and hope to persistently do so. And I'm happy to welcome Dr. Ruth Chakravarti, who is again a very, very special person in my life, and to so many of us. I speak for many, many of us present here. We were the privileged historical batch to be her first batch at Isabella Thoburn College, and the privileged ones for whom she taught first. So we always kind of, bask in the glory of being the very special ones. And thank you for sharing your work, and it has enriched this session today. I also want to add that the students who have worked strenuously, seamlessly in terms of collaborative work, also gives us a big, uh, what shall I say, something of hope. And in the times of pandemic, when everything is dismal, devastating, whatever that goes in terms of evoking all those negative images in our hearts, there are these little rays of hope in the journal that shows us the irrepressible optimism that also infiltrates the minds and hearts of our students, which should and gives us tremendous pride, because they are going to be the torchbearers of this century. So we can rest back in peace, because the future is in the right hands. And I also want to take this opportunity to talk about the distinction that has brought in, apart from academics. Our department has the unique distinction of having a Padam Shri, Professor Raj Bisaria, who again is a very special person in my life, because he introduced the passion. I was always passionate about theatre, but the kind of passion with informed knowledge of its praxis, I think I have always had that edge in my life because of those kind of tutorials that we received in interaction with him. And we have a Saraswati Samman earned by Professor Nishi Pandey, which brings plaudits to our department. And I'm also happy and proud to say that our present serving head is the only Commonwealth scholar in the history of our department. There have been many British Council fellowships, all right, but she is the only Commonwealth scholarship recipient. So, young students, you have so much to look up to, and you are doing a brilliant job the way you have shaped up. And I hope that you will continue to energize this journal with your spirited endeavors, with your unstinted hard work, because you have shown what I always share with you, that nobody has ever died of hard work. In these times of pandemic, when everybody is crestfallen, when everybody is sapped in the energies, you have infused the energy that is unrivaled and unmatchable, which also is a wonderful experience to browse through the journal. Not very long articles, not very long-winded poems, but that also shows and reflects on your training, the Baconian training, where pity, where being succinct adds to the expression. So this has been a very special edition of the journal, and I hope that many more are there in the pipeline, with all of you working with such synchronicity, with such synergy, that is admirable. So I personally congratulate all the editorial team members, as well as the unsung heroes who have given the push to the journal in more ways than one that can be articulated, because they truly, as true scholars of English literature, bring alive what Milton once said, and I quote, "Even those serve who stand and wait," unquote. So thank you, and wishing you all the best. And thank you, Professor Unyal, for this opportunity, for being a part of this launch. Thank you. Over to Amrita.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. It is always so enriching to hear you, and truly your address today has enriched our launch session as well. Thank you so much once again. Moving forward, I would now like to invite Ansh Sharma to present the formal vote of thanks.
A very good evening to one and all. Thank you, Amrita. The way to develop the best that is in a person is by appreciation and encouragement. These lines of Charles Schwab become manifested every time a teacher inspires and emboldens a student to realize his or her potential. On behalf of the Department of English and Modern European Languages, University of Lucknow, I would like to extend a heartfelt thanks to all who have supported us on our journey named Rhetorica Quarterly, which continues and, God willing, shall continue to achieve many more benchmarks. I would like to extend my gratitude to Professor Alok Kumar Rai, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, University of Lucknow, who has always taken a keen interest in the activities of the department and continues to motivate us with his words to endeavor for further excellence. The journal is the brainchild of our head of the department, Professor Ranu Nial, who continues to strive to build institutions and set up platforms to give an opportunity to her students to showcase their talents. The learning that we have, which we apply, has been taught to us by our very dear teachers. So, big thank you to all the faculty members who continue to impart us and fill in us with their acquired knowledge. I would like to thank Dr. Ruth Chakravarti for gracing the occasion with a benign presence, and as an alumna of the department, it becomes all the more special because you present an example for us to learn from your multifaceted personality. Dr. Minakshi Pava, my sincere thanks to you, ma'am, for taking out time to be a part of this launch session, and your words of confidence have actually made us more optimistic and emboldened us for the journey ahead. To all the participants, active and passive, to the team members and contributors, to those who have shared their experiences and the ones who have read their compositions, you know you make this program a success. And thank you for that. Thanks a ton. Thank you, Amrita, for a very well coordinated conduct of the program. And to the entire editorial team, congratulations and all the best for the milestones yet to be achieved. And most importantly, a big acknowledgement and gratitude for the love and response we receive from our readers and audience. Continue being with us and keep guiding us with your feedback and steer us in the right direction, always, so that we may continue to do and say for you 1,000 times over. Thank you.